this is Talky for a new Shadowverse video and the third installment of Tournament Tuesday. Like last week, we'll be watching a game from the Shadowverse Pro League. It was once again with the Nagoya Baby Star, but this time the opponent was AU Detonation. First, we have Milu, who brought mid-range Swordcraft to the table. Now we're pretty used to the deck, especially if you've watched my deck 2 days ago, and his deviation from the norm is a 1 Frontline Cavalier, 2 Luminous Mage, 1 Barbarossa, 1 Support Cannon package. The third Barbarossa in particular is very peculiar, but I guess he wants a way to clear X5s and he wants recurring card advantage against go-wide decks. On the other side, we have Aruji, playing Neutral Forestcraft. Neutral Forestcraft land is about the same as that of Sword midrange. It is to get big undercosted creature on the board, but as opposed to Swordcraft, which is going wide, Forestcraft has really huge fatties. Imperial Strix in particular is a 5/5 for 4 mana, which is incredibly overrated. With the addition of Dawnbreak Night Edge, the deck also gained Oceanus, which can either be used as life gain against aggro, or add an additional removal in mid-range mirrors. So we have a mid-range versus mid-range game, which means it will be about manufacturing board advantage and finding ways to get ahead little by little. Let's start with the mulligans. Milu is going first with Swordcraft and decides to keep Morse as it's really incredibly strong when you go first. He also keeps Chromatic Juggle as casting it on turn 1 kind of forbids your opponent to extend his board early, as a turn 4 White Queen is really a huge beating. He does mulligan Barbarossa though, as he would really like to have a 2-drop. On the other side, we have Aruji with a very good hand, in particular containing Elf Twins Assault, which is the card that makes Neutral Forestcraft work. Hector is a bit too expensive though, and ideally he would want more early plays, so he decides to get rid of it. This game was interesting from the get-go. Milu, casting Chromatic Jewel on turn 1 to get a White Queen, makes it so Aruji cannot really play Feria on turn 2, even in the face of just a Bladed Hedgehog. If Aruji goes Feria into Elf Twins Assault, the turn 4 Emeria will be providing a lot of value, so Aruji decides to be patient and get full value from his Elf Twins Assault on his turn 3, clearing 5 mana worth of creatures. This, in turn, makes the turn 4 really awkward for Milu. He could be casting the White Queen, but you don't really want to be casting a 3/3 for 4. He knows it would die and get absolutely no value, so he decides to go for the Holy Bear Knight. The Holy Bear Knight is quickly disposed of by Aruji, who is kind of having the dream draw of Neutral Forestcraft. Elf Twins Assault into Imperial Strix into a turn 6 Beauty and the Beast is really what you want to be doing every single game as Neutral Forestcraft. The Strix gets cleared by a Barbarossa, and then we get to Aruji's turn 5, where he really is presented with a lot of options. He could decide to present 2 bodies on the board with a Sun and Moon and a Feria, or one huge one with the Imperial Strix. He decides to go for Strix plus Evolve, which is really hard to clear for Swordcraft outside of a Kufulin. Luckily, Milu doesn't have the Kufulin and is unable to clear the Strix on his turn 6. What's interesting though, is that he decides to evolve the White Queen to put the Strix down to only 2 life points, which means it will die to the Kufulin coming from Arthur on the next turn. Aluji's turn 6 is pretty scripted as he has a Beauty and the Beast in hand, and Milu gets to slam Arthur on 7. He kills the Strix thanks to the Kufulin, but has no way to handle the Beauty and the Beast, and therefore decides to be patient to be able to use his Evolve next turn, coupled with Sky Fortress to take down the Beauty and the Beast. On the other side, Aruji is in a pretty tough spot. He cannot clear the Arthur board having no AoE, and doesn't really have any great option despite having 9/8 that cannot be killed with damage from spells. His only possible play that directly interacts with the board is Elf Twins Assault, as he already used all his evolution points, and he decides to go for it, praying it hits Holy Bear Knight and not Arthur. He does get a 2-for-1 for it, but unluckily the 2/2 ward is still there and he cannot put Milu down to 4. Then Milu's turn 8 really showcases the strength of Swordcraft in the mid-game. His Sky Fortress plus the evolution point allows him to clear the full board while drawing a card and leaves him with 12 power on the battlefield. And Aruji has no way to interact with it. He already used 2 of his Elf Twins Assaults and now has a very hard time interacting with creatures. This is sort of the death knell for neutral forestcraft. While he was able to cheat out huge creatures early game, it cannot really keep up with other mid-range decks in the mid-game. He decides to go for Pure-Hearted Singer to see what he could get, but there's nothing great he can draw into. Emilus turn 9 is what seals the game. As I told in my deck tech yesterday, the strength of Sword is that once it has control of the board, it kills incredibly fast. Milu identifies that now he is the beatdown and he goes face for a whopping 15 damage. There's no real reason to clear the small stuff here, as he wants to close out the game as fast as possible. As we see with Aduji's hand on turn 9, there is nothing he can do that saves him from the Barbarossa in Milu's hand. He knows about it and does his best to clear the board, but alas, this won't be enough, and Royal takes the cake thanks to the Arthur into Sky Fortress sequence. If you cannot do anything against the Arthur into Sky Fortress sequence, unfortunately, it's really hard to compete with the top tier decks. This is really a litmus test for decks in rotation at the moment. The early game was very interesting though, with the turn 1 chromatic duel having impact on Aduji's ability to develop his board, and I really like Aduji's decision to be as aggressive as he could in the mid game to try and take Swordcraft by storm by presenting threats too big for Swordcraft to handle before they slam Arthur. I hope you enjoyed this tournament replay, and I will come back tomorrow for the first unlimited video on my channel. It will be a deck tech for OTK Roach, my favorite deck in Shadowverse and one of the hardest decks to pilot properly. So don't forget to tune in tomorrow. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good day and good luck in the last few hours of the Grand Prix.